Sup, nerds? This is our top 5 overall Marvel Phase 4 projects, which means we're going to start with WandaVision and work our way all the way through the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, the movies, the TV shows, and the 2 presentations. Sleepy, what were your top 5 selections and defend your selections?
Number 5 is Shang-Chi. The rings, the tie-in, the beacon at the end. It all seems like it's actually fitting into the story pretty well. Number 4, No Way Home. Obviously, come on, guys. It's No Way Home. There's not much to defend there. Maybe it's placed on the list. I can attest. Number 3 is Moon Knight because I've watched it twice already. I love the whole corniness aspect of it. Number 2 is Werewolf by Night. Marvel did it right. Black and white was perfect. It was just an overall great special. And number 1, Loki, because the bastard caused all of this.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Gecko?
Well, number 5, off bat. I know we shitted on this. But just because of the tribute, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And the only reason it's at number 5 is because the tribute to Chadwick Boseman, where you had to give the respect to the guy. Number 4, WandaVision, my favorite MCU TV show. Number 3, Loki. I love what Loki did. He introduced Jonathan Majors as one of Kang's variant. Number 2, Werewolf by Night. It was campy. It was everything I wanted. It reminded me about those B movies, them horror movies that I was used to see with my dad, like Return of the Living Dead and stuff like that. So I love Werewolf by Night. And number 1, none other than Spider-Man No Way Home. Had the best cameo in the whole series. And it was just perfect. The story was perfect. I liked how they ended it, giving Peter Parker a new beginning. A lot of people used to criticize the Marvel MCU Spider-Man because, that he's in the shadow of Tony Stark and whatnot. But what they did at the end to give us lonely Peter Parker was beautiful. So at number 1, Spider-Man No Way Home. How do you think, Tony?
Not bad.
I can't argue with that list.
But I'll give you the real top 5. Number 5, What If? Love the animation, love the stories, love the twist that they had. It reminded me of the comic, so I love that. Number 4, Werewolf by Night. Like he said, it reminded me of old school horror films that me and my mother used to watch on Saturday nights with the great Swinguli, who I think is still out there doing it. Number 3, WandaVision. It started it all. I liked it. I loved the transition from black and white going through basically my entire childhood of watching TV. And I just loved the twist. Number 2, Far From Home. No Way Home. Always get that wrong. No Way Home. Love that movie overall. It was my favorite Marvel movie of Phase 4. Honestly, the only really good movie they had, good to great movie they had. And number 1 is, of course, Loki. Loki sets up everything in Phase 5. In Phase 6 and Phase 7. He introduced Jonathan Majors. He introduced Sylvie, his own variant, whom he tried to make out with. He introduced all the Loki variants. That was just, to me, the best show in MCU I've seen.
It couldn't have explained the multiverse
and
better.
I will also say that I like the TV shows better than I like the movies.
Agreed.
Agree.
And I think it's sad because I think that'll be the future of the face of Marvel, will be more so TV shows than movies. Because I'm not convinced for the movies that they release that they can still do a big blockbuster. They got to prove it to me. And right now, their TV shows are great, and their movies are not.
And
I had to agree. The only complaint I have about the TV shows is that some of their landings sucks.
Yeah.
Like, and you had to be honest, Tony. I remember you complaining about the ending of Moon Knight. So I feel like some of the landings but overall, the TV shows have been great. Hawkeye has been good.
Yes.
And, just because we're doing this top 5 does not mean everything else sucks.
Right.
It just means that each one of us, love either this TV show or movie more than anything else. And to be honest, like you said, WandaVision to you was higher than me in WandaVision. Now, I agree with you? I agree with you. But in my top 5, I feel like I had to put WandaVision at 4 because Loki set up a lot of stuff. Werewolf by Night, I honestly have to be honest. I probably seen that special like 5 or 6 times. Mm-hmm. And Spider-Man No Way Home, seen it multiple times, but I just put it at number 1 because Sleepy, you weren't going with us at this time.
Nope.
But oh my God, how you felt when you seen that movie. I wish I felt like that for Doctor Strange. I wish I felt like that for Thor. I wish I felt like that for Black Panther. But when you see it at the end, that Spider-Man is always going to be special.
Yep.
It's always going to be special. And I think that the pandemic actually helped that movie a lot.
Whereas I think the pandemic hurt the TV shows because you couldn't get stars to guest on certain shows. And a hurricane that devastated Puerto Rico made them change Falcon and the Winter Soldier on the fly. You literally had days to rewrite that whole show.
That is true.
And I will give them a pass because of the pandemic for Phase 4 and all my criticisms. I have a lot of criticisms, but you had to change the way you do things. We know Doctor Strange was supposed to appear in WandaVision. We know that they ran out of time for episode 10 of WandaVision because they just couldn't get it done because some people kept testing positive. We know Doctor Strange, the set was shut down 2 weeks into filming because they had a outbreak. So I'll give them the pandemic pass. But overall, it was a good phase. I may have my complaints about certain projects, but overall, it was still entertaining.
It was a pretty entertaining phase. I'll be honest. There was things I liked and things that I didn't like. And, when we get to the point of what it is, I took it as phase 1.
Yeah.
Where a lot of it was a hit and miss. But overall, like you said, we're going to have to give them the pandemic. Overall, if I had to rate I'll give it like a 7.5, phase 4, to be honest. Maybe an 8 at most. And that's because certain things that I didn't like, but that's just my opinion. Yeah. I don't know about you. What would you rate phase 4?
I'd give it a 7.
See?
I'd give it a 7 with an asterisk because of the pandemic. You couldn't do what you wanted to do. And certain people would not fly in to do things. Certain people got sick. Said you had the earthquake and the hurricane, which destroyed Puerto Rico. So that changes that show. You couldn't film in certain locations.
That's true.
Unless you took the vaccine. And a lot of actors said, no, I'm not going to take the vaccine. So they had to back away. So I'll put the asterisk on it and compare it to phase 1. That they had to we've had to redo our entire lives because of this pandemic in those years. So I give it a 7.
Yep. Building off what you say about the pandemic, we came out of a very, very dark time. So I always gave it the benefit of the doubt of they're just trying to make people laugh, even if it's the stupidest thing and the world gets something back to normal.
And then give us enjoyment.
I like She-Hulk. I know you guys didn't. You guys really, really didn't. But I enjoyed it because I found the humor cringy. And then I read Immortal Hulk. And that flipped me quite a bit.
So overall, what do you give phase 4?
Solid 8.
Yeah.
Ain't no wrong
Out
with
there,
that.
which is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because I give it a 7.5.
Because
it's easy.
I feel like the movies, now that the pandemic is over, go back to that level of where they're supposed to be at again.
We're hoping.
I'm very optimistic.
Deuces, nerds.